Good evening and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups, technology and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Shrikant coming to you live from India's startup capital, Bengaluru, and we kick it off then with the latest controversy to hit the UIDAI, the agency in charge of Aadhaar in India. Now, remember, it's just days before a Supreme Court judgment on the constitutional validity of Aadhaar is going to be out. The final judgment will be out either this week or next week because the CJI Deepak Mishra retires in the first week of October. So it's something that people have been anticipating. But even as that verdict is being anticipated, a fresh controversy has hit Aadhaar. This time, a HuffPost report has validated some of the security flaws that seems to have hit the Aadhaar enrollment software. Now, reports of a breach on Aadhaar enrollment software came out a few months back. The HuffPost report essentially spoke to experts both outside India and within India on the scope of this breach and how it was done. What really looks like happened is that this was executed using a software patch. Now, what the software patch did to the Aadhaar enrollment software is it disabled some critical security features that's needed to validate whoever is in charge of doing the enrollments for Aadhaar. So if I am an authorized agent in charge of fresh enrollments for Aadhaar, generating fresh numbers, I'm supposed to go through a biometric authentication. There is also a GPS feature to ascertain my location, and there is also an iris authentication. Now, what this report says is this software patch has managed to disable some of these critical checks and balances that's needed to establish whether I'm a genuine enrollment agent or not. So as a result of this, anyone can buy the software patch for as less as rupees 2,500. They can then begin to enroll people and generate Aadhaar numbers without going through any of the checks and balances that's needed for an enrollment agent. I've tried to really simplify this for you. So this is what has happened. Now, we are still waiting for a response from UIDAI on whether this is an old issue, a new issue, has some recent breach happened, what sort of impact will this have on your data, my data that's already with the UIDAI, but they're yet to respond. So we are expecting a statement from them anytime now, but as I understand it, this is exactly what's happened with respect to the UIDAI, and I think it's in their interest to really come out and clarify soon on what exactly has happened, because clearly there is a lot of fear, doubt and uncertainty that's getting spread on social media at this point on just how secure the Aadhaar database is. In fact, we will be discussing this at length with the cybersecurity expert Pawan Dugal, who will join us on Startup Central. But before we go to him, we have a story of yet another breach, this time not of Aadhaar, but of food ordering app Freshmenu. Now, a website called haveibeenpawned.com has revealed that way back in 2016, more than 1 lakh users of Freshmenu have had their data compromised. And remember, if you have signed up for Freshmenu, you've divulged details like your name, contact number, address. It will also have a history of your purchase orders from Freshmenu. So they claim that Freshmenu was aware of this breach. They acknowledged it in 2016, but they decided not to inform users of this breach. That, of course, hasn't gone down too well with Freshmenu's users. And for more details on this, I'm joined by my colleague Rahul Daima. Rahul, take us through the numbers, and has Freshmenu come back with what they plan to do, or why they were not transparent with users?
Chandra, it's more than surprising. It's shocking the fact that Freshmenu did not really inform customers about this data breach. It happened 2 years back in 2016. It's now through the website haveibeenpawned.com. that really this information has come out. In terms of what data has really been compromised, more than a lakh customers have been impacted. It's 2 years back. Remember, Freshmenu, operates cloud kitchen in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, NCR. Really, so data that has really been exposed. We understand our names, email ID of customers, phone numbers, addresses, device information. Because every time you place an order for food online, things like information like your mobile number, address, email ID, all of it are to be shared. That has been compromised. While we still haven't heard back from Freshmenu on the matter, I have been pawned.com really says that Freshmenu had acknowledged the breach when they reached out to them. Also, it had told them that it did not really inform customers about the breach, which is surprising in its own way. But remember, it's not the first time that a food tech startup has been battling an issue of this sort. We also saw Zomato a few months back see massive data breach. They did really own up and said none of the payment information has been compromised. For now, it's unclear if any payment information on Freshmenu has been compromised. But quite shocking at that, the fact that this was not reported for over 2 years. And it also Freshmenu really offer is present in the cloud kitchen category. So there's very less interface, say from a restaurant to restaurant. All data is internally stored. So it'd be important to know how this got out and what the company will do to address these concerns.
Right. Thanks for that, Rahul. In fact, we'll now bring on Pawan Dugal, someone who we talk to as far as security related aspects are concerned, and we'll take him through both the Aadhaar issue as well as the Freshmenu issue. Pawan, thank you for joining us on Startup Central. I first want to get your take on the first issue, which is a security flaw as far as the Aadhaar enrollment software is concerned. Some people seem to suggest that, this is an old issue. It's been resolved. There has been no data leak as such, but we do not have a response from UIDAI. And others say that, this is concerning because it means anyone can buy the software patch for 2,500 rupees, pose as an enrollment agent, bypass all the checks and balances and begin to enroll people and generate Aadhaar numbers. It'll be great if you can tell our viewers on, how concerned they should be. Is this an old issue? Has it been resolved? Or is it something that we should be really worried about?
I think as people who are using Aadhaar, who are relying upon Aadhaar, this kind of a news comes in as an immense concern and challenge. And it's not surprising because we have begun to see how cybersecurity breaches are continuing to happen to the Aadhaar ecosystem over the last couple of years. And the factum for that is not very, very hard to find. We've been finding out that ever since we began working on Aadhaar, we did not really incorporate cybersecurity as an integral component of its architecture. No wonder it was bound to start creating divergent consequences for not just the system, but also for the users. Now, that stuff that you have actually pointed out is nothing new because it's also a manifestation of how hackers are increasingly targeting the Aadhaar system and the ecosystem for the purposes of trying to unauthorizedly access people's data. The very fact that we still don't have an answer from UIDAI only actually confirms our worst suspicions, which is that the Aadhaar ecosystem stands compromised. And therefore, before we now go forward in terms of making Aadhaar mandatory, the nation must halt on its feet, on its way, must reconsider where are the current loopholes which exist under the cybersecurity of not just the Aadhaar Central Identities Data Repository, but also of the Aadhaar ecosystem, where various service providers are connecting with the Aadhaar Central Identity Data Repository, but are not following the minimum requirement standards of cybersecurity. Until such time, we are not able to effectively address those breaches and beef up the security, it will not be advisable for the government to start making Aadhaar mandatory for everyone in India.
Right. Pawan, as we speak, there's just been a statement from the UIDAI, on fairly predictable lines. They've dismissed the news report on the Aadhaar enrollment software being allegedly hiked as incorrect and irresponsible. They're saying some vested interests are deliberately trying to create confusion. And they have also said that they have taken all necessary safeguard measures, from providing standardized software that encrypts entire data, protecting data, and identifying every one of the operators in every enrollment. They further clarified that no operator can make or update Aadhaar unless the resident himself gives his biometric. So any enrollment or update request is processed only after the biometrics of the operator is authenticated. And I'm just going to keep this very brief. In the final lines, they have said that even in a hypothetical situation, essential parameters such as operators biometrics, residents biometrics are not captured, the same as identified by the robust backend system of the UIDAI. So they have basically dismissed the report. They are saying that they keep adding new security features in its systems from time to time, and that they have advised people to approach only the authorized Aadhaar enrollment centers in bank branches, post offices, and government offices. Now, I want to clarify here that in the initial days of Aadhaar, private agencies were allowed to do enrollments, but when these breaches started happening, that's when UIDAI really tightened the system, where they started restricting enrollment to government offices, bank branches, and post offices. Pawan, on the face of it, is this again UIDAI being its defensive self, or do you actually see merit in what they have put out?
What UIDAI has put out is not at all surprising. In fact, it's continuing to stand by its basic stand that Aadhaar is supreme in terms of security. It is sacrosanct, and it cannot ever be impacted by any person in the world. You see, actually, the fact of the matter is that we all need to learn from history. A few weeks back, when the former chief of Aadhaar had actually thrown an open challenge about Aadhaar number being potentially misused, in 24 hours, the personal details were out. In 48 hours, the threat to the daughter was out, and the thing still continued. So the fact of the matter is, let's understand it. This entire approach of adopting an ostrich perspective, where we dig our heads deep in the sand and run away from reality, does not in any case tend to really serve the national interest. The fact of the matter is, with Aadhaar having now reached 1.21 billion people, as per one claim, it's too big to be actually wished away. So rather than always harping that Aadhaar is secure, there has been not a single kind of a scientific study done to find out how the compliance with the various internationally stipulated standards on cybersecurity have been done in terms of Aadhaar ecosystem. In fact, I personally believe that the Aadhaar ecosystem is completely unsafe, because the majority of these service providers who are using the Aadhaar for accessing our application are not really following any stipulated parameters on cybersecurity. So in case, if you think that as a system, Aadhaar is sacrosanct, is foolproof, and can never actually suffer a cybersecurity breach, I think that approach needs to be given away. Let's be realistic. Aadhaar as system at the end of the day is nothing but a system based on computer resources. There's not a single computer that's been born or assembled across the world which cannot be hacked. What was secure yesterday is not secure today, and what is secure today will definitely not be secure tomorrow. So I think the better step will be that UIDAI will serve the Indian interest and Indian sovereignty far more better if it stops actually giving just bland self-denials and starts concentrating on trying to address the breaches on cybersecurity and the loophole points, so that the Aadhaar system can be effectively more strengthened and made the basis for further Indian growth.
Right. Pawan, before I let you go, I also want to get your take on the Freshmenu episode. From a user perspective, if I have been pawned, if my details are out in that website in terms of my name, address, mobile number, purchase order. What can I possibly do now? I mean, I'm sure deleting the app is not going to be a solution because it's already been accessed by someone. Just from a consumer perspective, can you tell me what options do people have at this point?
Well, the options right now is, number one, at least be alive of the problem. Number two, try to learn your lessons from this. Intrinsically, actually believing in the app is a mistake from the word go. Because at the end of the day, most of us do not actually go to those detailed, very fine print terms and conditions which actually compromise all our legal rights. But they are drafted in such a manner so as to be in favor of the app creator rather than the user per se. Please understand, the app is respecting you because you are a data entity. If it's giving you information or services for free, they only want to play on your data. So whatever has gone is now gone. You need to take your lessons from there and try to make sure that henceforth, before you start dabbling into any future kind of mobile apps, please ensure that you have read its terms and conditions, understood how it's going to deal and access your data, and whether it's going to compromise or share your data with someone else, and then take a decision whether the said app needs to be actually downloaded or not. But in addition, in this particular case, you could also have certain remedies under the Information Technology Act. If you can actually show that your information has been unauthorizedly used by the app, then that becomes a ground for seeking damages by way of compensation up to 5 crore rupees under Section 43 of the Information Technology Act 2000. If you can show the said information is pertaining to your sensitive personal data, then you can even ask for unlimited damages by way of compensation under Section 43A of the Information Technology Act 2000. Further, you can also try to straddle the said app company, which is operating the same, with criminal liability by trying to register a criminal complaint under the provisions of the Information Technology Act 2000 and the rules and regulations made thereunder. Very quickly, by taking your data, they have actually, without your permission, gone ahead and diminished the value and utility of the said information, either dishonestly or fraudulently. And that would constitute an offense under Section 66 of the IT Act. And in addition, other offenses under the Indian Penal Code could also be attracted. But please understand, whether you go for civil damages or whether you go for criminal liability, the onus of proving the fact that there was a misuse of the said information is going to be upon the user itself. And most of the time, the user may find that he may not have adequate information or proof to prove his claim of unauthorized access or disclosure of his information. So while on paper these remedies do exist, in ground reality, users might find substantial challenges in trying to have access to these kinds of legal remedies.
Right. On that note, Pawan Dugal, thank you so much. I'm not sure how many people will actually use the legal remedy and claim compensation. Perhaps there could be a precedent. I don't know if that will happen. But thank you for joining us on this leg of Startup Central for analyzing both those critical issues, the Aadhaar breach as well as the Freshmenu breach. But time to take a break at this point. When we come back, we have a top voice from the world of FMCG, Nestles CMD talking to my colleague on its plans in the e-commerce space, how they are already working with many websites to push some of their products. More on that on the other side of Startup Central. Welcome back to ED Now Startup Central. We have a big voice on the show, the top boss of Nestle India, talking to my colleague Parisha Tyagi about Nestle's plans as far as e-commerce is concerned. They've already started selling on various platforms. He elaborates on that and the new categories that they will be getting into. Listen in to an excerpt of this interview.
I've done quite a few partnerships on e-commerce. If you remember, when Maggie came back in 2015 November, it was with Snapdeal, and we had 60,000 boxes that were sold in less than 5 minutes. We have had subsequently deals on a lot of our brands. Masalas of India was actually, the survey was run on Google, and the offer was run on an e-commerce platform. Most recently on Amazon Prime, we introduced breakfast cereals, Nestles from Nestle. Soon after that, we have now introduced on Flipkart the special masala, and I think over a period of time, e-commerce has become a very important platform for generating not only the relevant buzz on a new brand, but also it reflects a particular type of consumer who is willing to buy online and who's wanting to try new things. And I think this is the opportunity that we see on the e-commerce platform. It is still relatively small, but it is a growing segment of the trade for many consumer goods companies, and we are quite enthused by the performance that we have seen.
Sir, any plans to partner with other platforms? So for now it's Flipkart. Any more companies you planning or more products you are planning to launch on e-commerce?
We work quite actively with Amazon. We work with Big Basket. We work with Grofers. We work with Paytm. We work with different platforms. So I think we are working with numerous platforms. We will be expanding our portfolio also. We have had products ranging from nutrition. We launched our Resource High Protein, which is one of the best protein supplements that you can have on.
Now, Samsung has unveiled a huge experience center in Bengaluru, and this has come up at the iconic Opera House on Brigade Road. My colleague Rahul caught up with Samsung's marketing head to really find out about the plans there, and he also took a walk inside the experience center to tell you what really sets this apart. Take a listen.
See, what we're trying to do here is we are bringing the world's largest mobile experience center to Bangalore. And this will have interplay of our products and leading edge technologies that we are working on globally. So for example, you have virtual reality here, you have artificial intelligence, IoT in a nice mix along with products, so that consumers can get some very unique experiences. I'm sure you will see there that we've put 4D chairs where you can experience them soon. Yes, you should. So in one of the chairs you can become like an ace aircraft pilot and do a lot of stunts. So it does a 360-degree turn and so on and so forth.
All right. It is really the largest experience center in the world for Samsung. So why India? Why Bangalore? Does it also talk about the fact that Indians are taking to technology in a different way? The significance of the market really. The idea. Take us through the idea behind it.
Sure. I think why India? India is a very important market for Samsung. At Samsung, we've been invested into India at various levels. So for example, the world's largest software R&D center outside of Korea for Samsung is in Bangalore, is in India. We've got 5 R&D centers in India. We've got 2 manufacturing units in India. The world's largest mobile factory is in India. So we've been invested into India. India is also the fastest growing smartphone market. India is one of the largest smartphone market globally. So I think from that, it sort of comes together.
That note, completely out of time on this edition of ET Now Startup Central. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned to the channel for more news and updates.